Thank you, everyone. Today I will talk a bit about the World Bank, who we are and how we function, how we work with client countries so everyone can understand that. And then I will focus a bit on our most recent work and our developing a business line around global geospatial information management and some of the activities we've been doing for that. So who we are as the World Bank Group is an organization that is working mostly with low and middle income countries. Our goals are to end extreme poverty, so to help those people who live on less than $2 per day, but also to promote shared prosperity, so working with the bottom 40% of people in all countries to improve their livelihoods. And we want to do this in a sustainable manner, and this is all in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. The World Bank Group is actually 5 organizations. The World Bank, which I will talk mostly about, for which I'm a member, is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. That became after World War II to reconstruct Europe. That's how the World Bank actually got its start. And then in 1960, the International Development Association, or IDA, was created. That's really to provide financing to the lowest income countries and to really fight that poverty aspect. There's also IFC, is the International Finance Corporation. It works with the private sector. So we as the World Bank finance governments and government projects. The IFC, our sister organization, works with the private sector. We also have MIGA, which is a guarantee agency, and the ICSID, which works on investment disputes. It's like a dispute resolution agency. I'm just going to focus on what we as the World Bank, so the IBRD and IDA finance. We have 120 country offices, and the newest country office is actually here in Korea. It opened in 2014. Korea doesn't borrow from the World Bank, but we've joined in partnership to look how can Korea's experience be shared with the developing world. And certainly geospatial information technology, the transformation of a country using technology, is one of the areas that we will be focusing on, creating a knowledge hub, a training hub. And I will be joining the Korea office next month. So I will be moving to Korea and based in Korea. And so this expo is coming at an excellent time to reach out to the Korean companies, to the Korean government organizations, to increase this partnership between the World Bank and the Korean government in the betterment of lives and in the developing world. The World Bank is organized by regions. There's 6 regions. Korea's in the East Asia Pacific. The key is that our key counterpart, or how projects are developed, comes through the Minister of Finance in every country. So let's say national mapping authorities have to coordinate with their line ministry, and it's through an official request from the Minister of Finance that projects are developed and financed. We have global practices and themes. That really focuses then on the content of those projects, the technical assistance aspect. And we also have corporate departments. The chief economist is one of the main ones, and a lot of people know the ease of doing business report, for example, comes out of our corporate department. Our group, I'm with the Global Land and Geospatial Unit, based in Washington, D.C., although now we will have myself in Korea as a satellite office. There's 5 sustainable development global practices. I come from the social, urban, rural, and resilience, and just looking at our portfolio, between our current portfolio and lending, we have over 300 projects and close to $40 billion in investments. So quite a big portfolio covering a wide range of disaster risk management, rural livelihoods, urban development, and social inclusion. And we work with client countries in several ways. Of course, the investment projects are the main avenue. Again, this is where the World Bank and the Ministry of Finance, the government, agree on what money should be borrowed. So we are a bank. Governments borrow from the World Bank for investment projects. We also provide policy advice and technical assistance, International partnerships, which I'll talk a bit more about in the second part, research, and of course training and capacity building. So partnerships, global geospatial information management. I want to delve a bit deeper into that because we in the World Bank are going through our own transition because of how quickly technology is moving, geospatial information management. And 3 years ago, our senior director announced that we as the World Bank do need to address this more proactively. Geospatial information management, how do we advise clients? How do we invest? Can we develop a business line that supports countries developing spatial data infrastructures and using location-based information more effectively? And I was asked to lead that project. I think Peter showed a similar slide, but even if you think, how do countries even begin to talk about location-based information? What maps do they have? And this is often what we find. The physical conditions of the maps are bad. There is no digital information, or even worse, if there is digital information, it's wrong. And if you can see here, it's completely wrong. And the effect on that is people do not have secure tenure rights. The land market is frozen because the official information does not actually match the reality in the field, and then all the knock-on effects of that. So how can you build a spatial data infrastructure where cadastral information or parcel information is one of the fundamental layers, and the information that the government has is wrong? So that's a lot of the situations we face, and we need to tackle that challenge. And when we talk about technology, and particularly the benefits of geospatial information, partnerships are key, and it's a partnership that spans from the government sector to industry, to academia, and to those of us in the international community. So this is key for us. And as we were thinking about geospatial information, who are key partners? One of those is the United Nations Committee of Experts on Global Geospatial Information Management, or UNGGIM. It's a committee that's been around about 8 years now, and you'll notice that the very first session of UNGGIM was in this building in 2011. So Korea has always been at the forefront and active in the creation of this committee and recognizing the importance of providing a global forum and global community for global geospatial information management. So we at the World Bank signed a strategic partnership agreement with UNGGIM last August. And the title of it was Bridging the Geospatial Digital Divide. So technology is moving so quickly that the gap between the developed and the developing countries is growing wider. And in order to help countries capitalize, use geospatial information to leapfrog ahead, we have to bridge that divide. And the agreement had two focuses. The first is to develop this overarching geospatial information framework that provides a guideline to countries in how they develop their spatial data infrastructures and use geospatial information. And the second then is to go in and actually help countries develop their action plans and investment plans, and in a convincing way that they can get money from the Minister of Finance to fund the investments needed. We set a very ambitious goal. We wanted that global geospatial framework adopted within 1 year. So last month, it was adopted and endorsed by UNGGIM. It's a very high-level framework. It's targeted to policymakers, but it provides a way for, let's say, the technical geospatial community to communicate with the decision makers. What is the significance of geospatial information and the infrastructure? What are the benefits? What are some of the drivers for change, the trends that are happening? And then what are the barriers? It's a very high-level document. And you can see here, it's not just about data and platforms and softwares. It's really the whole ecosystem putting together the puzzle about what it takes to have a spatial data infrastructure. So it's institutions, the policy environment, the legal framework, the standards, capacity, and communication and engagement. How do you convince the Minister of Finance that this is an important investment or the Prime Minister? Where is that champion at the high level that's going to help move forward and capitalize on geospatial information? Our next step, so for next year, our next ambitious plan, is that out of that we're going to have the implementation guide. This is for the practitioners. This is for those of us in the room who want to engage more. How do you go about it? What are the first steps? Where are we today? What are our priorities? Where do we want to go to next? That's the implementation guide. There's a draft. We will work on then a global consultation, and the aim is next August to have this endorsed also by the member states of the United Nations. And the third step then is actually the country level work and engaging with governments to develop the action plan and the investment plan. And again, we want to then have a toolkit for the practitioners, some templates and guides in addition to the implementation guide. We at the World Bank have been working on some pilot country-level action plans. And the idea is to identify the investments that are needed, the priorities. Importantly, what are the socioeconomic benefits? What are the numbers? What's the return on investment? What's the impact that geospatial information can have? Or what's the missed opportunities because governments aren't investing in spatial data infrastructure? And how do we go about that at the World Bank? We do that through analytical tools. We provide technical assistance, and then that leads into various financing options. And again, I told you we were trying to develop this business line where countries can come to us and get financing for the geospatial sector. So we started by coming up with just a rapid diagnostic assessment. What is the state of today? Policy, legal, the data itself, and in how we work at the World Bank is we try to do something in one mission or one visit. So it had to be a rapid assessment tool that covered all of these parameters. And so we've tested it now and refined it in about 14 countries. We've also looked at it from different angles: disaster risk management, urban planning, land management, so it's an adaptable tool. That we feel fairly confident now gives a rapid, accurate rapid assessment. Then the second level is the technical assistance. So in 2 countries, in Palestine and Albania, we've gone ahead and completed the whole action plan. And then out of that is the financing aspect. And one of the challenges of the geospatial community is what actually is the value of geospatial information? And how do you convince the Minister of Finance that investing in geospatial infrastructure is just as important as building a road, delivering medicines, revising the banking sector? So all of those sectors are very mature and have ways to assess what is a return on investment. And the geospatial industry is just developing that now. So we looked at, particularly in a low and middle income country, how do you come up with the socioeconomic benefit analysis? And we came up with an extremely conservative 2.5 to 1 ROI on a standard type of investment project. We're also going from looking at city level or subnational level, really the smart cities, the resilient cities, the need of the local governments to respond much more quickly to the needs of the citizens, perhaps at a faster pace than the national government. So how can we come in and help them? And we followed the same logic. We created a municipal spatial data infrastructure diagnostic, a rapid assessment. We looked more at aligning it to the business drivers. What is the city's key priority or key problem, and how can geospatial information help that? Again, a socioeconomic benefits analysis. Could we get a return on investment? And then developing the action plan. And as I said, we've broken it down. What are sort of the key areas where either the city council or the mayor himself, the decision makers, have interest, from urban planning to disaster management to e-government and citizen services, and what role does location-based information play into that? We look at what type of data, then what are the data sets that really need the investment, and of course, the policy and institutional and capacity structure around that. So we've completed our first one, Tirana, Albania. So we went from the national level of Albania down to the capital city, Tirana. We've completed the diagnostic, socioeconomic impact assessment, both for the public sector, so how would it help the local government itself, but also the non-public sector, so the benefits to business, to consumers, and the environmental and social benefits. Out of that is the action plan. What are the priority investments and interventions over a 5-year period? There is an investment plan now of, let's say, close to about 20 million US dollars. And exactly what are breaking it down into the particular investments. And the idea is that in a $20 million project, it could be the World Bank, it could be other bilateral institutions, or it could be the government itself. So we break it down into categories that other investors can come in and work together under the same umbrella of what are the priorities and what needs to be funded. And then again, we were able to determine a very conservative 3-to-1 return on investment. We were working with Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam as part of their Smart City program. So they had done a lot of detailed analysis, these 7 breakthrough programs, but there was nothing on geospatial information and location-based information. So we've come in and supported and added to that. And we'll be finishing that up in the next few months. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much.